Kyle Palmieri has a record-setting day as the Islanders blast the Bruins. And one of the team's biggest needs heading into the trade deadline. We've got all that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We've got a lot to discuss, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can send us an email to lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR vs NYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all season long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. What a great game Saturday night for the New York Islanders, and history was made in this game by one Kyle Palmieri, who had a natural hat trick, getting 3 goals all in the first period, and in addition to that, adding an assist in the game and really becoming the first Islanders player to even register a hat trick since April 3rd of 2022, and the first hat trick at UBS Arena since March 19th, 2022. If you're wondering, J.G. Pageau in New Jersey on April 3rd of 22, and Brock Nelson against Dallas at home on March 19th of 2022. But essentially that means throughout the entire 22-23 season and all the way through the first roughly 60 games of this season, no hat tricks for the New York Islanders. And, getting a natural hat trick, just adding to it, 3 goals all in the first period, coming in less than 10 minutes time and helping the Islanders jump out to a lead they never relinquished. And here is a game that I think, we have these games periodically, where we had it against Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago. We had it now against Boston on Sunday, where the Islanders put everything together and just play the way they're capable of playing, holding the Bruins to 23 shots on goal. This is a Boston team with Brad Marchand and Jake DeBrusk and Morgan Geekie and, of course, David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy. This is a team that is certainly capable of scoring a lot of goals in not a lot of time. And the Islanders, who have struggled with consistency all year in their own zone, really shut them down. And that was fantastic to see. And, at no point, here's the other thing that I really liked about this game. So many times we have seen the Islanders take a 2, even 3 or more goal lead into the third period and watch that lead either be eliminated so that they have to go to overtime, or even that the Islanders, are up 4-1 and then they win 4-3 and the other team pulls their goalie and makes you nervous in the closing seconds. The Islanders did not go into a shell in the third period. They were not being dominated by the Bruins trying to hang on for dear life. This truly was a solid 60-minute effort by the Islanders. Ilya Sorokin with 22 saves, the 4-point night for Kyle Palmieri, and just an overall solid approach to the game. If Patrick Waugh could almost make out a plan for victory, I think you would have almost all the ingredients for that plan demonstrated in this game. You got solid goaltending. You didn't give up too many high danger chances. You didn't take your foot off the gas. You had the full 60-minute effort. You had one line contributing the most, but you also had scoring opportunities from other lines, and overall just a solid performance. But again, here's the thing. The Islanders are doing real well right now on a 3-game winning streak, having beaten 3 teams that I would consider. 2 of them are definitely Stanley Cup contenders, and the other one is a solid playoff team in, Dallas and Boston being the Cup contenders. Detroit right now, a solid playoff team. You beat them all. You beat them all. 2 of them in regulation, and the one you didn't beat in regulation, Dallas, since they're in the Western Conference, you don't care that you had to go to OT to win it. But the key is to start doing this consistently and regularly. Because remember, after that dominant game against Tampa Bay, and everydayers, you'll remember, I said after that game, yeah, this may be the best game the Islanders played all year. And it still may be their best effort. But after that, they went back to being the hot and cold Islanders that, the mistakes, the inconsistency, the things that have plagued this team almost all season returned after that game. I am not saying that, the Islanders have 22 games left, or, roughly on this season. I'm not saying they're going to go 22-0 down the stretch. That is, not going to happen for this team or for any other team. But let's also face this fact. They need to start stringing together a streak. So it doesn't have to be 10-0 or 5-0. But get me, a 5-1-1 7-game stretch, followed by a 4-2-1 7-game stretch. Get me a bunch of games with 22 games left on your schedule where maybe you have, a little slump in the middle, but you go on 2 nice runs where you're playing consistently good hockey, and you may not win every game and you may not get every point. But look, with 22 games to go, if you can get me points in 15 of those games, 16 of those games, and have, 14 of those or 13 of those be wins outright, that's how you end up making a run for the playoffs. And getting that consistency down is going to be the most important factor for the Islanders going forward. We saw Patrick Waugh get the job done with, having the team do the things he wants them to do. And they did it against a very good opponent who, unfortunately for Boston, but very fortunately for the Islanders, did not seem ready to play this game. And now the key becomes making this the normal thing. Playing the Patrick Waugh system where you're limiting the other team's chances and you're doing the better zone exits and you're creating off the rush and your line combinations, all of them are contributing in some way. When you put all of those things together, that's when you start to become dangerous, and that's what the Islanders need to do going forward. Even bad teams in the National Hockey League are going to have the occasional good game, but it can't be occasional. And what stands between the Islanders and the playoffs is making this the new normal. Great to see Kyle Palmieri with the hat trick and the 4-point night. And third Islander to get that hat trick in the first period. Derek King and Mick Vukota, of all people, the other two. But here's the thing about Kyle Palmieri, and he's now up to 18 goals, which is great to see. But the thing about Palms, he is streaky. And if you can get Kyle Palmieri on one of his 5, 6, 7 game hot streaks, that can really carry this Islanders team. And it can make a big difference down the stretch for the Islanders if Palmieri suddenly finds his groove at the right time and could possibly help the Islanders reach the playoffs. So fingers crossed that we get that boost from Palms right now, but it was a great effort and great to see him do that. And hopefully this is something the Islanders, this streak and this performance, that they can build on. We've got more to talk about on today's show, some quotes from Patrick Roy and from some of the players. We'll have our hero and go to the game. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, and this is a little bit of a tough one, a player who was with the team for part of the 1989-90 season and put together really good stats, but never really established himself as a full-time player. He's a forward. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. And you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and a lot more. And look, you've got the NBA, you've got college basketball, of course you've got hockey, and baseball spring training is underway. You could check out all the futures bets, or hey, maybe you want to see what odds you can get on the Islanders game against the Blues on Tuesday. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and shoot your shot. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So, the other good things that came out of this game, to me, for the Islanders, and we talked a lot on this show, everydayers will remember, about the line combinations that Patrick Roy went with and how putting Horvat, Nelson, and Barzal together on one line puts a little pressure on the other lines to step up and produce. Well, Pajot, Lee, and Palmieri were the most productive line in this game. We saw some flashes in the previous game from Cizikas, Engvall, and Holmstrom. Kyle McLean has played well in his role as the fourth line center. Matt Martin, by the way, banged up late in the game, did not return. Patrick Roy did not have an injury update on Matt Martin, so we're not sure if that was just a situation where he was a little shaken up, or whether Matt Martin will miss a game or two or longer. So definitely follow us on X, and we'll keep you up to date as soon as the team makes an announcement, probably during the Monday practice session. But if Matt Martin is unable to go, I would assume that they would put Matty Martz on IR and activate Hudson Fasching from the LTIR. The other alternative, obviously, is to just slot Oliver Wahlstrom back into the lineup, but I don't think that would be the first choice, because Wahlstrom really doesn't fit in to a bottom six kind of combination. As far as hero and GOAT of the game, okay, one other thing. Again, the Islanders staying out of the penalty box. Only Uh, Only 3 penalties taken all game, only 2 of those resulting in power plays for Boston. To me, this team needs to keep it to 3 power plays or less to have a real chance at success. And they killed off both power plays that the Bruins had. So that was certainly a big advantage for the Islanders and something we need to see more of. And again, I think when they play the Patrick Roy system and get the puck out of their zone, keep it simple, make the transition, don't get bogged down in their own zone for long periods of time, that's when you see success consistently from this team. And we saw it. So, again, hero and go to the game. I think hero of the game is obvious. Kyle Palmieri with the 3 goals and the 4-point night. Very easy to calculate. And I really didn't see a GOAT of this game, a player who just didn't do anything in particular that really hurt this team. Wasn't a very physical game for the Islanders, but I really did not see a GOAT of the game in this contest. So I'm going to leave that spot blank. You realize no Islander player was a minus in plus minus in this game. Matthew Barzal did not have a shot on goal, did have an assist. The leader on the team with hits was Cal Clutterbuck with 2. Block shots, 3 for Alexander Romanov. He continues to play well. So I mean, what am I going to do? Give Sebastian Aho the go to the game because he committed one of the 2 penalties that resulted in a shorthanded situation? I'm leaving it blank. I really don't think that there was any one player in particular who deserved to be singled out for bad play in this particular game. So, the Islanders getting back into the playoff situation. Here's what Patrick Roy had to say. Nights like this for coaches are fun because everybody played a really good game. Our guys were on the puck. We were quick to help support each other offensively, but we did the same thing defensively. So I thought we were strong in our end and in the offensive zone. And that's exactly what this team needs to do in order to be successful. So it was great to see, and it really was important for the Islanders to play that full game where they are doing what they need to do on both ends of the ice surface and get the job done. So not going to hand out a go to the game. And hopefully, again, this is the beginning of something where this team is able to build on this and make it the new normal. If they can't, I can tell you right now, it is going to still be difficult to make the playoffs. Not impossible, but difficult. Why? Well, you look at the standings right now. Islanders are still 5 points behind the Philadelphia Flyers in the race for that last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. They are 6 points right now behind the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Detroit Red Wings. And yeah, the Islanders have 3 games in hand on Tampa Bay, 2 games in hand on Philadelphia, 1 game in hand on Detroit. But again, you got to almost be perfect to get past these teams. And, Washington is right behind the Islanders. New Jersey is right behind the Islanders. Pittsburgh has 2 games in hand on the Islanders and are 4 points back. There are a lot of teams, Buffalo not out of it either. There's a lot of teams bunched up right now, and it will require a level of consistency that we haven't seen this year from this team for them to make the playoffs. But that doesn't mean they can't do it. It just means they have to show something they haven't done yet. But as they're learning and getting more comfortable in Patrick Roy's system, it appears there is a chance that they could pull that off. Well, the NHL trade deadline is now less than a week away. It's Friday afternoon. What will Lou Lamoriello do? We'll discuss that and a lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee. So Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. My favorite part of Game Time, you go on the app, you can see the view from your seat before you buy the ticket, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And Game Time, they have deals on tickets not only up to the start of the event, but even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find last-minute seats. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. So create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So the trade deadline, again, Friday, it's getting very close. And what can we expect from the Islanders? I always believed, and everydayers, that as far as I know, the odds are that Lou Lamoriello is going to be a buyer at the trade deadline if he can help it. I do see a few players who he might be willing to trade before the deadline. Those two players, in my mind, are Oliver Wahlstrom, who, again, has had a number of chances this year and in the past to claim a regular roster spot and just doesn't seem to have one on this team now. And when you think about it, here is a guy who is known as, his best aspect of his game is his shot. So here's a team that needs scoring depth, has a player with a good shot as his best asset on the roster, but he can't find his way into the lineup. Wahlstrom's contract is up at the end of this year. He will be an unrestricted free agent. The Islanders would lose him for nothing. I can't imagine the Islanders wanting to bring him back. I don't know if Oliver Wahlstrom would want to come back under the circumstances, but all signs point to, if you can get a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, or even a prospect, won't be a top line prospect, but maybe a midline prospect to improve your prospect pool and maybe help Bridgeport out down the stretch and into the future, that would possibly make sense. And then the other is Sebastian Aho, where Aho is right now the 7th defenseman. You do have Samuel Bolduc and Robert Bortuzzo. Bortuzzo still on LTIR. If you end up activating Bortuzzo, you could trade away Aho, and then you'd still have Bolduc available. To me, that would make sense. Aho also an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, probably not in the Islanders' plans for being a top 6 defenseman next year. At best, he's your 7th defenseman. Again, likely he goes somewhere else to try to earn more ice time. Not a lot of value there, but I could see Lou Lamoriello making a deal for Sebastian Aho at the deadline if he could find a taker. But the other thing is this: what are the Islanders' biggest needs right now? And everydayers know, since the offseason, we've been talking about scoring depth and a puck-moving defenseman. And I think the defenseman is still a need. And I know I've heard rumors about Jacob Chychrun being a possible target for the Islanders. But again, cap space and a lack of ammunition to make that trade, because the Islanders don't have the prospects and the draft picks that some other teams might really covet, who are sellers. other teams may be able to outbid the Islanders, not just for Chychrun, but for any other player out there. So I think the number one need remains scoring depth. And to me, a top six forward would really be the best weapon for the Islanders. And whether that means you break up Bo, Brock, and Barzy, the three Bs, as I like to call them, because you probably have to trade away a center, and the Islanders have six of them on the roster right now in Bo, Barzy, Brock, J.G. Pageau, Casey Cizikas, and Kyle McLean. You're going to have to trade away, I would assume, one of those guys and enough cap space to bring somebody in. I do not want to see Lou Lamoriello bring in another guy who's 30 years old or older, who's going to be a rental, and then sign him to a 4, 5, 6, 7-year extension. It's a typical Lou Lamoriello move. I know he doesn't like rentals, but I still think that goal scorer who can help the power play, who can give you more depth up front, is the biggest need for this team. And we will be discussing more specifics about some of the players who are out there and some of the deals that could go down in the coming days this week. And obviously, if a trade is made, we will have a video up on YouTube as quickly as possible to discuss that deal and maybe even do an extra episode as well. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And this is an obscure one, but this is one of those players where you look back at the numbers and you just kind of wonder why this guy never had a bigger role. And today is the 61st birthday of former Islanders center Gilles Thibodeau. Thibodeau, a native of Montreal, 5'10", $165, not the biggest guy in the world, made his NHL debut, wasn't drafted, made his debut with his hometown team, the Canadiens, back in 86, 87, and then joined the Islanders in 89, 90. Never became a full-time NHL player, never played more than 32 games in an NHL season, and yet he was productive no matter where he went. And in 89-90, which was the part of the season he played with the Islanders, in 20 games, 4 goals, 8 points. And no, that's not world beater stuff, but, that would give him 32, 35 points, something like that in a season if he, kept that pace. And he did have some games where he was very, very dangerous. One of the games, and we go back and look at his best game as an Islander, October 20th, 1989, at the Cap Center in Landover, Maryland. And it's ironic because we were talking about Kyle Palmieri's natural hat trick. Well, one of the two other natural hat tricks in the first period we talked about Derek King and then Mick Vukota. Well, this game was the Mick Vukota game because Vukota scored 3 goals in the first period, and Gilles Thibodeau assisted on all 3 of them for the New York Islanders in this game. Don Maloney also got an assist on 2. Glenn Healy made 26 saves, Islanders beating the Capitals by a final score of 5-3. Don Beaupre was the goalie in this one for the Caps. So Vukota with a hat trick, Thibodeau with 3 assists, 2 assists each for Jeff Norton and Don Maloney in this game. Gilles Thibodeau, who was only briefly an Islander, then played for the Maple Leafs and then finished his career in Europe. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day, everydayers. Tomorrow on the show, we will have the latest trade rumors and injury updates. Plus, we'll have a full preview of Tuesday's game against the St. Louis Blues at UBS Arena. So make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.